So it's really funny. This last weekend, um, we did this like barbecue competition thing. My family did with some friends of ours and everything. And there was a lady there, and she knew I did podcasting, and so she wanted to ask me some questions because she has YouTube channels um, that she does with like different things. One of them she does a barbecue one, but then like she has like a daily devotional one that she does. And so like she was asking me questions and she's like, so like what is your podcast about? And so I was like kind of giving her, like the Cliff Notes version, and she's like, oh, you're just like ruffling all the feathers, aren't you?
Yeah. That's so funny because like you get that, what's your podcast about? And I'm like, toxic church culture. And then you get the faces of like, you get
Yeah.
one of two responses, either like, oh, I don't know if I can talk to you, or the oh, I've got a story for you. I
Yeah.
understand.
You're yeah. Yeah, you tell really fast if you're the vibe or not for someone.
Faith can feel like hearts and butterflies until someone lights a match and burns it all to the ground. Welcome to the Burning Butterflies podcast.
The sad thing is that there's abuse of every kind within the church. But the spiritual abuse is the stuff that just
What's a place there shouldn't be abuse? Like, there just shouldn't be abuse in a place that claims to.
Well, it ruins your soul. If you're new here, we suggest listening to our prologue episode first. This is the story of three women's journey through spiritual abuse and leaving a toxic church culture, all while finding healing in the end.
Sometimes it's just the facts, and if you get offended by it, that's a you issue. And if we can't be mature enough to have these conversations, even if some of the topics are difficult, then shame on us.
Today, we are going to talk about the time has come again in our timeline, the epitome of all things women's ministry at most evangelical churches, the infamous women's retreat. I actually had visited a different church that I had never gone to before on Sunday. My daughter had a friend who was getting baptized, and so we were going to support that friend. And I wasn't gonna just like have my daughter go by herself to a strange church. So like I went, and they are promoting their women's fall retreat. This church does a spring one and a fall one. And so it was a very big deal that they do 2 a year. So they were promoting it like it was, I think the theme was like girls trip.
Oh, okay.
And yeah. So so I mean this is a very common thing. This wasn't just a come as you are thing. I think come as you are made it seem like we invented this and other churches are copying us. But it's a very common thing. And I'm pretty sure if we went back into Saddleback, we would find at some point Saddleback had a women's retreat, or even if it was, or probably like a Southern Baptist thing or something.
Well, we kind of noticed along this journey that like it seems like there's like this curated acceptable things that women can do and participate in, and you have to do certain things almost to like keep women coming, because like it always boggled my mind that women aren't allowed to have lives outside of the church. Like you're supposed to stay home, you're supposed to raise your kids, but then we have to plan like anything you're inspired to go to, or I don't know, I don't want to say forced or coerced to go to. I don't know if this was the case for you, but I felt like it got to a point where what was acceptable in my life was that as a woman, was that I attended women's events. But if I went out, like if you and I went out to go do karaoke, right, on a Friday night with
no, that's
girls, that
frowned
would have
upon.
been like, oh my gosh, you can't do that, sinning, you're awful, you're gonna die, you're going to hell. Like, okay, but like, you could go and have birthday dinners with ladies. You could go to retreat. You can go to women's breakfast. Like you have to do women's Bible. Like everything is geared towards it has to be a part of the church. So I don't think retreat is any different. I know for me, it really became like an annual Mecca thing, like definitely over spiritualized. This was like New Year's Day, like New Year's Eve. Like this was like, it was like
New beginnings, fresh
start. The year is over. Like, why was our year like was marked on the calendar by retreat? That's how I felt.
Yeah.
But I do think before we jump into this retreat, because it's just very apropos that this retreat is called Celebrating Sisterhood. we should include our listeners on the Burning Butterflies tea.
Yes. So we have mentioned over the last couple episodes that Brandy was dealing with some issues, and she was taking some time off to be able to deal with those things. It has evolved, and she has chosen to leave the podcast. This is not a decision that Melissa or myself were happy with. It led to
it's almost like
some heated conversations.
Brandy always talks about like being on a reality show, and like, she had, right before all this went down, she was like, you have to watch The Secret Lives of Mormon Moms. And so I binge watched it in like one day. Like I had my day off, was like in front of the TV with Netflix just playing this show over and over again. Watched the entire season. And I kid you not, I felt like I was on that show in this whole ordeal where I was like, I wish there could have been like the little, when they take them off camera to have their little.
Yeah, the confessionals.
If she thinks that she's going to say that to me, well, it's not happening. Like, that's how I felt. Yeah. So it kind of got a little down and dirty, but,
a little bit. But, so
you get me and Amanda again.
Yeah.
Yay!
It is just the two of us. Like I said, it's not a decision that either one of Melissa or myself are happy with, but also we're done chasing people, because we're not at Come As You Are anymore, and we're not going to chase you down, and we're not going to force you to do something you don't want to do, and we're sure as hell not going to force you to be our friend. So,
well, and you know what? We're going to talk about this. We're going to dive down into this because, like, on one hand, there's like, definitely like feelings and things get said and whatever, but the bigger picture, which I think is on brand for us at Burning Butterflies, is that we want to take our experience and look at it from a bigger perspective and help people put language might be experiencing. And when you're in a toxic church culture experience, your relationships, that even the ones you thought were real may not have been based on, real versions of yourself or whatever. Like, I don't even know the right way to put that, and there might have been people that you hated that you might have been friends with in the real, like in a healthy, real environment. And so, I mean, it's interesting. And then when you go through and you deconstruct with people, which was our situation, and then you find yourself, there's a lot of navigating that goes on. And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to dive into that on our Patreon, because I mean, that's just what a neat topic to kind of really get raw and real with. Like,
yeah. Of like, when you leave a high controlled structure like we did, how much of your relationships with other people are formed in healthy ways, but also formed in genuine ways. Like, because, I look at my marriage. Justin and I are not the same people we were when we were at Come As You Are, but we have made a commitment to each other that we both want to change and we both want to do better. And so I think all types of relationships have to go through that,
Yeah, where are you clinging to people that are going to keep
you
your
have,
lifeline healthy, and where are you clinging to people that it's the lifeline, but it's toxic, or it's like it's just based on that it had no chance even to be healthy, because it was all. I mean, we call them trauma bonds or whatever, but I mean, like, that's a real thing, and those relationships aren't always healthy. So we're gonna die. Yeah, it's just fascinating.
Yeah. So over on our Patreon, that episode is already up. You can go and you can watch that. But today it's this is, I don't know if you want to call this like art imitating life, but this isn't art. This was our life. But like the crap that has gone down over the last week in our own life right now in the real timeline is mirroring so much of what we're going to talk about today in the timeline in the podcast. So buckle up, because like crap's about to get wild. We are talking about retreat. This retreat, like you said, Melissa, was called Celebrate Sisterhood. This was in May of 2016. As we are gearing up for retreat, we are also planning VBS. And so I just want everyone to think about for a second, the people who plan these events, it is the same people who are putting on VBS are the same people who are putting on retreats. And so we double up, triple up, sometimes quadruple up these events. And I mean, there were years where I went straight from the giveaway to retreat VBS planning to big summer park event to back to school, fall festival.
Yeah, and on top of the fact that a lot of these people are 7 day a week planning Sunday services.
Yeah,
and at church all day on Sunday to make sure that everybody else is having a good service. And like, this is keep your mind on the mission so that you can't see the man behind the curtain.
Exactly. Pay no attention to Tom and Charolette speaking into a megaphone with a talking head. Right. Like, and so as we are doing this, the children's ministry leader is the one who is leading VBS. Brandy and I are very, very involved in the planning of VBS. You are very involved in the planning of this VBS. And it is the tension could be cut with a knife, because my friendship with the children's ministry leader is fairly non-existent at this time. Like, we have gone to not talking to each other at all when we would spend time on the phone or talking face to face together almost on a daily basis. And so planning for VBS, we're almost like forced to do this together. Neither one of us want to do this together, but like, who else do you got? Like, when it comes down to it, I mean, Tom would like to say, like, we're a church of, 300 people. Well, we were a church of 300 people in like 2014. And then it has slowly started, falling, people started falling away and attendance started going down. So, but Tom is always going to keep, I'm sure, if you asked him what his church attendance is even today, he would probably say 300 people. Even though we know it's nowhere near that. So I would say realistically, like, adults in the room, probably 150.
Yeah.
I would say.
On any given Sunday.
Yeah. You have all those people, but then not all of them are doing the work. 90% of them are showing up on Sunday, putting in their time. They're going to Bible studies. They're doing this stuff, right? But there's 10% of the people doing 100%. Right.
You're talking, and literally, I mean, I think you're talking about 15 people. And I think I can name those 15 people. Yeah. So that's pretty accurate. I think that's pretty accurate.
So, I mean, you're kind of stuck with, just this handful of people that you can right. do these events with. You probably
have another handful of people that are like part-time workers. I mean, so you're talking about full-time workers versus like part-time workers, and then you've got like your on-call people, right? Like, and then everybody else. But out of 150 people, that's like, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we were kind of stuck with each other, right? She had already accepted a position at a private Christian school in a neighboring, like one of the bigger neighboring towns to us. And so she was kind of just putting in her time. She knew she was leaving at the end of the summer. She would be going and working at that school full time. She was leaving the church. And so this was kind of her. I think it started off that this was going to be her big final hurrah, but I think her give a crap broke very quickly. And then everything very quickly just became a like, let's just get it done and over with. So we're planning for this VBS at the same time retreat is happening, and being planned for and everything. So this retreat is the very first retreat ever since my very first retreat back in 2004. Yes. So 2016 is the first time since 2004 that I am attending a retreat and I am not serving on a team. I'm not co-leading anything. I am simply showing up to experience retreat. Right. That's flippin' insane if you think about that just for a second, that I spent that much of my life like being so invested in this event. And so I am finally coming out of my funk. I am coming out of my depression. I am excited. I'm happy. Things are going well in my marriage. Like, I'm in a good spot. And I am so excited to go to this retreat and just be able to hang out with my friends, experience retreat without having to worry about, oh, I have to leave this session early to go do this. Or I get to fully experience the full retreat.
Really, like,
and I am so
of
stoked.
all the women that, like, I guess is a good place to clarify, like, that because to really see that separation of like the percentage of like leadership or whatever, like of all the women like that go to retreat, there are women from other churches that come to this retreat. There's women who do not go to the church, but they make their annual Mecca to retreat. Like, and it even still happens. Like, there's people who've left the church for years, but they're like, oh, retreat's happening. And then they're like, we're all going. And like this group of 6 ladies will show up and you never see them except for at retreat. Like, it's crazy. But in the small group of women who do lead things, like, that's how it is. Cause like, that's how it was for me too. There's only 2 retreats that like, I did not lead anything. Like, I did what you did, but one of them I didn't go to because I couldn't take off of work. And the other one, I don't think we've gotten to that one yet, but I almost like sat in time out at it. Like, it wasn't even fun. I didn't participate, but I had to go. Like, it's weird. Like, I should have just stayed home. I wasn't going to go. I didn't sign up. It was a last minute decision, but I had to show my face because everything was quote unquote, it's okay, Melissa's here, but I didn't do anything. I just sat there and was miserable the whole time. But other than that, you were like required, expected. You did everything. This was.
Oh yeah. Well, and this was like a big thing. Like, I mean, I had women coming up to me and being like, what do you mean you're not going to do registration? Like, what do you mean you're not going to, like, what do you mean? What do you mean? And I mean, the nice thing is that like, okay, well, like 6 months ago, I was planning on killing myself. So here I have a full binder with how to do this.
So, God, for Amanda's organization, I don't make light of it. Like, I'm sorry. Like, it's a deep subject, and I'm not making light of the fact, but like,
no, you have to laugh about it because what sane person does what I did?
If you've been a person who've like, our listeners will never understand when you've like for years, I've heard you say, if I get hit by a bus, here's a binder.
Yeah.
Here's a binder. Here's a binder. Like, I was in such awe of your,
I had them
yeah,
labeled retreat, VBS. I had
like I strive for that type of organization in my life of where I'm like, okay, what would Amanda do? I mean, like, it's insane. And like, then to find out years later, like, I don't know if people understand, like, until we were recording this podcast, I did not know that's why you had all of the binders. It's your neurotic organization that's in life. And I've been trying to, like, I just want to be like that.
My super organization and people pleasing coupled with deep depression. So
Well, thank God for 3 rebinders.
Yeah, so I had binders, but honestly, it was such a relief to me that I had everything, because then I could be like, oh, I already put it together. Like, here's a binder. It gives you step by step. It has all the templates. It says where the templates are saved, like on the church drive, like how to step by step how to get to them. Like, you know, here's all the things that you're going to need in order to be successful at this.
When you do also realize, though, that that's the only reason that the church survived you leaving. It's your fault.
Yeah,
they would have crumbled had you not had fun.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I'm glad you're here.
We're going to get to that point. I have felt for a very, very long time that God was trying to burn stuff to the ground, and I just kept like dumping water on it. It was like, no, I'm going to save it. So, but I have stuff in place, so I don't have to participate. Like I don't have to do the planning, right? And it is drawing close to retreat. Tensions are building between the children's ministry leader and I as we're planning VBS. And so it's kind of like we just show up. I do like here's what I'm working on this week. She says, okay, that's great. Here's what I'm working on. And then we part ways, like, and we do everything in the office. And so Tom is not happy with the fact that she is going to be leaving. We have made comments, but I don't think we've ever come out and just blatantly said it. Tom had a crush on her.
And this isn't just like something we conjured up. Like, this was one of those shared moments if you're like, this is what I think. Yes, we all thought it. It was very obvious. And it was very obvious that Charlotte didn't like this woman. Like, he just sat back and it was always tea anyway. We're always like, what's going on there?
Yeah. So Tom is a sad panda because his eye candy is leaving the office. And so he is kind of moping around, right? Charlotte is happy the lady's leaving, but she's not happy that her husband is all like sad about it, right? And so I think this is a really big reason why I'm not really being pushed into the planning process and helping with retreat this year, is because I think Charlotte wanted me to, like, because I mean, it was clear that like my friendship with this woman, my friendship was deteriorating with this woman. And so she wanted this woman to feel more and more isolated. And I think Charlotte wanted me to find other friends that I could, you know, kind of bring into the fold of serving. You know, we serve to the death. And so I think that's what she wanted out of that. So Charlotte did not pressure me whatsoever. So we're getting close to the retreat, and we have talked about these stupid retreat shirts. These shirts, you can't repeat a color. You have to have, you know, a different color. I mean, like, honestly, like when we were timelining this podcast, that's how we like would remember retreats. Like, oh, is that the one with the blue shirt with the white writing, or the blue shirt with the blue writing? Like, I mean, this is how we put things together. This is also the first year in a very, very long time that I have absolutely nothing to do with the shirt designs. I have absolutely nothing to do with the shirt ordering. I, again, give the binder and say, it's in the binder. Here's the guy, you know, the print shop that we use. Here's the guy's name. Here's his phone number. You just call, you say, hey, I'm with, Come As You Are women's retreat. We would like to order our retreat shirts. He's like, yep, I remember you. I think he remembered us because we're such a giant pain in that man's ass every single year. And Charlotte was insufferable to deal with. And so we get these shirts.
Like, hi, it's the Crazy Church ladies.
Would you care to come on the podcast and talk about Charlotte?
Tell me your experience of dealing with. That's funny. Sorry, go ahead.
And I don't think they use them anymore. They used them for years, but now there's a new lady who is kind of,
I don't know,
helping run things, and I don't think they use them anymore. I think they do her stuff. But anyway, so we get to the point where we are gonna have the shirts, right? And they put the shirt design out, and this thing, like, in my opinion, this thing is ugly. We take a image that they clearly found on, like, it looks like something that, like, your grandma, like, would find, like, a Bible verse written in this weird font, kind of all, like, shoved together, and someone, like, put it on, like, this thing. It almost looked like cross stitch, and then they put it on Facebook. And so that is the image they use.
I feel like things start out as a good idea, but then that idea gets run through a filter of, like, 1985.
Yes, it looks like something that your grandma.
It's still, but in the modern day, I don't know. It's very bizarre because, like, this is, now that you're talking about this shirt, like, yes, I would agree with, like, I see the concept. Like, the concept was good, but the execution was not.
Yeah. And so they have this. I do know that they were, like, struggling because they submitted the design, that, like, they just, like, right click save image as from Facebook. So the image quality was not amazing anyway. And they sent that in and said, put this on the back of the shirt. And the print shop came back and was like, we can't do that. Like, it is so blurry. It is so, like, and then, like, we can't put someone else made, like, you clearly just like saved this off of the internet, like, and so they had to build it. And so at one point they were in the office using what is it called in Microsoft Word, where you have, like, the text,
word art,
where you have, like, the word art. They were freaking using word art to build this, like I said, like, to try to
concept. Great. Execution, not great.
And so it was like, if Clippy could pop up and be like, it looks like you're building a retreat shirt.
Oh God.
So they're trying to make this happen. I am like, I'm staying out of this. I am not touching this with a 10-foot pole. I am not doing this. They finally have to pay extra to the print shop because the print shop has to build the design for them. We get these shirts back, right? And I think they're ugly. Like, I think they're super ugly. Like, they're almost like this, like, neon blue color, and they have this white writing, and the design is not good. And I'm not
this guy at the print shop is not encapsulating. Like, honestly, I feel like he made exactly what they asked for, and thank God for that, because, like, it was, like, it became a well done design. Like, the quality of the design, and, like, not the idea of the design was good, Like,
yeah. Well, and, like, to me, the front and back didn't match because the back had more, like, contemporary fonts, and the front said "Celebrate Sisterhood" in this, like,
No, it looked
grandma
like as soon as you said embroidery, it was almost like somebody took something your grandma embroidered on a pillow in 1980 and put it on a shirt. Like that's like I just
Yeah.
realized that because I was like, I don't remember it being that bad, and then I was like, oh god, it really was that bad.
Yeah. So I'm like, I don't want this shirt. I'm never gonna wear this shirt again. And so I'm like, you know what? I don't have to have pictures because it was very much like if you are a part of the planning, if you are leading, like you need to lead the way. You are the example. You order your shirt. And so then and in all the pictures you have to have your shirt on and all of these things, right? So Charlotte is going through the list because she is constantly checking lists all the time. She has a list of everyone who has signed up, and she's comparing that to anyone who has ever gone to a retreat in the past. Then she also has lists that I've collected information on people, Brandy's collected information on people. And so like, oh, there's this woman, she's involved in Bible studies, she's come to a couple's women's breakfast. She comes to mom's group, whatever. Why is she not going to retreat? So not only are you questioned about, are you coming to a retreat? What are you doing at retreat? You're being questioned about other people. How come they're not signed up for retreat? And this became the norm for like us to like, oh, Sally can't go to retreat because she has this going on. And Tammy can't go to retreat because she has this going on, and like just...
Yeah, these were open conversations
sharing...
when you got into anytime there was like the meeting for anything with retreat, you would talk about people and their lives and why they were not able to go to retreat. Yeah.
Yeah.
Far more
and
about
it was
people from
normal
meetings than I ever did in talking to them. Like that's
Oh yeah. At some point, Charlotte is comparing her list and she realizes I have not gotten a shirt yet. So she said, because Brandy is helping lead this retreat. And so she sends Brandy to talk to me. And I was like, I'm not ordering one of those shirts. They're ugly. And Brandy's like, okay. So she like just goes back and does the whole like, like, oh, she just doesn't want one this year, whatever. And doesn't tell Charlotte that I said her shirt is ugly. So Charlotte comes to me and is like, you have to have a shirt. If it's for financial reasons, I will buy you a shirt. Just, what size do you want? I will buy you a shirt. To the point where she had one of the office ladies, she had Barbara Jean go and look up from years past what size shirt I ordered because we keep everything. And so she had Barbara Jean look up what size, and she was going to order me a shirt and buy it.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
So I'm sitting in the office because I am in there doing some stuff for VBS, and Charlotte is having this conversation with me. She yells at Barbara Jean to go and get the information of, we're just going to order you one from, whatever size you wore last year. We're just going to order you one, but you have to have it for the picture. And so finally I was like, Charlotte, I'm never going to wear this shirt again. And she's like, well, you wear the other retreat shirts. And I said, yeah, but their designs are ugly.
Oh no.
And she's like, you cannot say that to anyone. And I was like, it's not like I'm going around telling people like, don't order the shirt. It's ugly. Like people have eyes. I'm pretty sure they can see this. It's not a great shirt. Like, so I'm not telling people that they don't like, no,
I'm not telling people. I'm not going to get one, and that's okay.
Yeah, I'm just not going to get one. It's fine. Put me in the back of the group
Melissa,
photo,
who never has a shirt, but you never want to buy her one.
Yeah. And everyone was super excited because we were going to take the picture outside this year. I was like, I'll just wear a hoodie. Everyone will think I was cold. It'll be fine. So she is like super upset with me. Fast forward 2 days. I am in the office again. I just have to go in and print off a couple things for Sunday because I'm teaching Sunday school. And I go in there to make copies and print some stuff off. And Tom calls me into his office. And he's like, hey, come back here real quick. So I walk in and he's like, shut the door. I'm like, oh, crap. Because when Tom tells you to shut the door, you know you're about to get your butt reamed. So I shut the door, I sit down, and he starts in on me about the shirt and everything and how I hurt Charlotte's feelings and she's come home and all of this stuff. And, my mouth is out of control and all of this. And I double down and I say, I am not ordering a shirt. She can order me one. I am not putting it on for the stupid picture. I don't want this shirt. I'm sorry your wife let a ugly shirt be made. She had to approve it. I'm sorry. I don't want the shirt. Are we really upset about the fact that I don't have it? Like, why does she care if I don't have a shirt? I'm not leading this retreat with her. I'm not even serving on any teams. Why does it matter if I have a shirt or not? And Tom gets furious at me. And he stands up from behind his desk and slams his hands down and leans forward over his desk and screams in my face that it is women with a mouth like yours are the reason why Paul tells people in the Bible not to get married.
Wow. Oh my God.
And
I can't.
Like that.
Please.
At the moment, like that cut me so deep.
Yeah.
Like, and in the like, I wish I had like the wherewithal at that time to be able to be like, sir, that's not even what that scripture says. So like,
yeah,
you can like just screw right off. But like, it cut me in the moment, but like now to me, it's almost like a badge of honor. Like, okay, that's
good.
Like,
then I'm doing what I should.
And you wanna misquote scripture in order to yell at me about my mouth? I will gladly take that.
But that's the thing, though, is like you're in these environments where, I mean, we were talking about this earlier, between you and I, like, off camera, but, we were talking about how, like, being raised to not question, like, certain authorities, especially if you grow up in, like, church, and, like, I went to Christian school, and, like, I was really raised with ideas that, like, but then on the other hand, taught to think for myself. Like, I don't know. It's like, it's such a weird, like, something's wrong, but like you've been conditioned your entire life. Like, this is a pastor and this is somebody who knows more than you in some sense. And, puts himself in a position of authority on spiritual matters and life matters and everything. And it is almost easier to not do the research yourself and I've spent so much time like diving down into like what's dogma, what's true, what's theology, what's man-made, what's not man-made. Like it takes a lot to find out that information for yourself. And most of us just believe the people who present themselves as, I've done the research, I've done the education, and I've come to this resolve that this is accurate information. And you put your trust in these people, and then to have somebody say something like this is why it is in the holy divine word of God that men shouldn't get married, is because there's too many women like you running around there. Like, oh my God, no, thank you. Ow. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go punch him in the face for you.
Like, when we go through this and you look at how much of yourself you lose in situations like this, you kind of hang on to those little moments that you're just like, nope, that was me. Like, at my core, that was me, because the people pleaser that I became at Come As You Are should have just bought the damn shirt and just worn it for the picture and just thrown it away. But I still didn't order a shirt.
No. And isn't that funny though? Like, when you look back and you see the moments where your true self was trying to emerge. You know, you're
Yeah.
like, it's, yeah, there was a movie with Harry Styles. It was called, Don't Worry, My Darling, I think is what it's called. Oh my gosh. I don't want to ruin it for anybody, but like, it's old enough now. I don't think I'm going to be like ruining it, but I watched it without any context and it blew my friggin' mind. Okay. So it's about like these couples and they're living in this like utopia, 1950s, perfect. Like, I even think it's the same set they used for like the Barbie movie, right? So if you picture like the Barbie houses in the Barbie movie, I think they used the same set for this movie because it's so similar, but it's like these perfect 1950s houses with manicured lawns, and the men go off to work in their fancy little 1950s cars or whatever, right? And the women are these cute little put together houses, and everything's perfect. It's this perfect utopia, and it's ran by this guy, and they have like, and he owns the company that the men go to work for, right? And but things start happening, weird things start happening, and most of the women like don't see it, like, and all of a sudden there's one woman who starts like, she starts having these flashes in her mind, and then it's almost like, is she having flashbacks, but she's starting to see things from like a modern day of like robotic type stuff. So you're like, oh my gosh, okay, is this even like, you're going through this whole movie, and then it turns out that the husband signed up for this program where they put on like these eye goggles, and they're actually laying, like, he has his wife chained to the bed and she has these goggles on, and it's all in their minds, and he goes to work every day, and then he joins her and puts the goggles on, and they are living in this alternate reality. Crazy stuff. But when we talk about these things and you're like, that was like a flash of me, like, that's what I picture, is like, it's a total mind. There's no other word for it. I can't say that word, so you know what I'm going to say.
Yeah. No, it's a mind F because
it is. Yeah. And like, I saw that movie and I was like, oh my God, I feel like that's been my reality of trying to like disassemble all of that. Was these like, I could see in my life where there were like these visions and these flashes of like myself. And like you're saying, like, that was me. That's who I am. I was like, no, this is not okay. And I'm going to stand up for it. And that's who you are. But like in the system, like, you're right. Had you not been you, you would have just bought the shirt.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you, at Come As You Are, I should have just bought the shirt.
But you didn't.
But I
good.
still
you had a moment of reality of you.
Yeah. Yeah. So we go to retreat. You actually speak at this retreat. I have no recollection of you speaking at this retreat. We go, we pick a table in the middle, me and my friends, we invite everyone, because like, so here's how retreat goes. You have like big round tables in this huge room, right? And you sit with your friends during the sessions. So a speaker gets up and talks. Then you go into small groups in like the rooms. So it's held at like a retreat center. So there's these rooms where some of them fit like up to like 6 people. Some of them hold like 4 people, right? But it's like a hotel room. Like, so everyone gets a bed, and then there's like a bathroom with a couple sinks, and so you go and you do the small groups. Whoever your small group leader is, you meet in their room, right? So you go into small groups, and so you do that all day long. But then at night, some ladies go to bed, but some people go into like the giant conference room, and it's like after hours, but it's at a Christian retreat. So like, the whole entire like serving staff at the retreat center, like the kitchen is closed. They shut down like everything.
Yeah. And they've all gone to their cabins and whatever.
Yeah. So like you can't get stuff. You could get like water and like you can make like tea with hot water, but like that's all you like. They even shut down like the coffee machine and like the soda machine. They shut everything down. So like at night you're just like, so we brought a crap ton of like snacks. Everyone would like just bring all of these snacks and everything. And we would sit, and so we had like candy all over the table, and we were playing like card games, and like there's a picture where all of us are sitting around this table and we're having fun and everyone's laughing. And even like the children's ministry leader is sitting at the table with us, and we're all laughing and having a great time. And there's a ton of women. Like, we had to pull up all of these chairs. I bet there's like 15 women all around this table, right? Like shoved in, and we're all playing games. And so the next day, Charlotte is very upset because our table was being too loud. And some women were saying that we were being too loud and they could hear us in their rooms. Well, the issue with that is even like if you were in your room, because, okay, I'm going to get like really
but it probably wasn't
honest.
even
And probably
like there's a whole nother group of ladies that would sit even closer to the rooms and be up till like 3:00 in the morning.
So I'm going to get really like honest and probably TMI for a second. I would, because I am a shy pooper. So if I had to poop at retreat, I would wait till a session would start where all the ladies were in the conference room, and then I would go back to my room and I would poop in my room, because the chances of one of my roommates walking in were low. And then I would, like, no one knew because like for some reason we can't let people know you poop. And so like even when I would do that, like during worship, like, so, I mean, we have like amps cranked, right? Like we have speakers. It's not like we're going acoustic in there. Like, I mean, we have like legit music happening. I couldn't hear the music from my room.
I never heard anything from the room outside of like a door maybe closing in the hallway.
Yeah, you could hear people if they were right outside your room, like in a hotel, but I mean, that's like complaining that you could hear people in the lobby at a hotel from like your third floor
it wasn't
hotel room. Like, it wasn't happening. And so we were like, okay, it's fine. We'll keep it down. We'll keep it down tonight. Sorry. We'll keep it down. Right. But I don't remember you speaking at this retreat.
Well, and what's so funny is like, if anybody's like fact checking, you going through your little white binder and looking for my notes, it's possible I didn't, and I just was on the worship team, but I don't think so. Like some of them blend together, but when I do the, like, I know I spoke here, I know I spoke here, I know I spoke here, and I'm pretty sure I spoke here. This is one where I'm like 90%, because I think I remember my talk. So I'm like, I had to have done it, but like, it's hard. Some of the stuff blends together, but yes, I did. But even Brandy said, she was like, she's got a similar story to yours on why she was like, oh yeah, you did, but I wasn't there. Like,
yeah. And so you see Charlotte orchestrating things. So Brandy is always and forever being kept busy doing other things. She never gets to experience anything. We've talked about that, like at the banquet. She has to do childcare. So even at retreat, Charlotte has her doing things to where she is never sitting.
And you never thought it was weird, because Brandy was Charlotte's little like henchman, but she was always tasking people, not just Brandy. Charlotte was always orchestrating and always tasking people to do things. And it wasn't until you sit back and you look at it and you realize there was specific timing to when these tasks would be, because even Brandy said that. She goes, I never understood why anytime you got up and spoke, she goes, I know you spoke. She can list every event that I was a part of, and I was up on stage, and then she was always asked to leave the room and do something anytime I got up to speak. Like, what?
Yeah. And so I was like, that's weird, because the same thing was happening to me at the retreats that I was serving at. And so I was like, I don't think you did, because I sat through this whole retreat. Like, I watched the whole retreat, but then I remembered there was a session where, so in a previous episode, we had talked about this marriage conference, right? This big marriage conference that Tom decided he was going to do. Yeah. And crap hits the fan, right? And it all revolves around the fact that there was a older couple whose daughter got pregnant. Her and her boyfriend had moved into their basement, and they were trying to turn their lives around, and they were living in the basement trying to do better. And it was, you can't do that.
Right. The one mom
right?
called him out. I can't eat with you because you're living in sin.
Yeah. I can't even break bread with you. And so, but they were like, well, why is it okay for Twyla? So Twyla, the woman who cleans the church and does all of the stuff at the church in like, you know, landscaping, cleaning, all of that kind of stuff. And her husband does a lot of the maintenance. Their son and his girlfriend are living in their house.
In separate bedrooms.
It was...
Which is
yes,
why
it was
the narrative was it's okay because they're on separate floors and in separate bedrooms. But
yeah, but the girlfriend gets pregnant and has a baby. So it was happening somewhere. So the sin was sinning.
Yes, so this causes not only does it cause the Moms Gone Wild in February at this marriage conference, but we have to experience the aftermath in May at the retreat.
Yes. So because you have like the beer ministry wife who like was like the I can't even break bread with you. She's at retreat, right? And so because she goes to retreat, this girl who she can't break bread with her because she's living in sin because she's pregnant. It's like, well, she felt like she couldn't come to retreat because everyone hates her, like, you know, and all of this stuff. But Twyla's at every retreat. So Twyla brings her son's girlfriend who had just had a baby. And the girlfriend feels like everyone hates her. And so like, because we can't just be like, okay, look, there was an issue. We've dealt with the issue. Like half the women in that room didn't even know what was going on because half of them half of them didn't even go to the marriage conference. But it's those feelings. You feel like everyone, and the way Charolette talks about stuff, she has a way of making you literally feel like the whole church is against you.
Everybody knows.
And even Tom speaks in absolutes. And so if one person says something, it has to be true of all the people. And so there was probably word got back to this girl that it was said like, well, Twyla's son's girlfriend is pregnant and like no one cares about that. Why is it? Because it's Twyla, you know? And so this girl feels like everyone hates her. Charolette pulled me out into the hall because this girl was crying the whole retreat, right? And she's kind of one of those, she's a little bit of a pick-me, and she's a little bit of like, she needs attention. And so there's no like, I feel emotional or I feel upset about something, so I'm going to cry quietly to myself, and then I'm really embarrassed, so I really don't want anyone to see that I'm crying. It was not like that. It was the like, everyone had to know that she was upset, right? And so Charolette has me take her out into the hall to have a conversation with her. And I end up sitting out there with her for like hours. And she's like snotting all over me and just bawling. And
that just happened to coincide with my talk.
And I'm pretty sure, that is when... Yeah, I'm pretty sure that is when you got up to speak. So we have that going on. Brandy also, knowing full well that everything is going on with the children's ministry leader and all of that, decides to put the children's ministry leader in the room with me and Brandy. So, and I mean, Charolette has a lot to do with it too, so... I guess this is a question I didn't really clarify with Brandy before she decided to leave, of like, was it more you or was it more Charolette that wanted the children's ministry leader in the room?
I feel like my understanding, just from the conversations that we've had, was like Brandy did what she could do when she could, but then sometimes when you're like, and I feel like I had the same experience. You could get away with what you could get away with until Charlotte or Tom had an opinion about it. And then you would have to go either toe to toe with them, like you did over the shirt, right? Like you could do whatever you want until Charlotte's not happy about it. And then she would come to you and you had to make a decision at that moment. Am I going to press this issue, or am I not? And I think 9 times out of 10, you cave. And once in a while you were like, no, this is ridiculous. So I feel like maybe it was, I feel like based on past conversations that we've had in planning this, that there was definitely a push from Charlotte where
to put her
think of
in
any other reason, like she didn't have enough to stand on to not put her in the room with you guys. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. And I could definitely see that because I mean, like it would make sense. Like Charlotte's mad at me for my t-shirt comment, so she wants to punish me. But also she wants to make the children's ministry leader's life miserable because she cannot wait to get her out.
And I would think that Brandy didn't see the bigger picture, especially being like newer the way she was. Like hindsight 2020, I think that was her, like she was like, whoa. Yeah, I see that now. Like where she was just like, I know you don't really like her, but I didn't think it was a big deal. Like,
yeah. So
she didn't know it was the nail in the coffin.
we had to share a room, and not only did we have to share a room, our beds were like literally like 3 feet apart from each other. So this woman, like, absolutely, her and I are like, we're not talking. But it's still like, hey, we're going to go out and we're going to sit and play card games. She came out the first night, and then the rest of the retreat, she sat in our room and cried to the point where all of us felt like really awkward, like when you had to go back in the room. So it was kind of like, okay, when you leave the room in the morning, you're going to get all the stuff you need for the rest of the day because you don't want to have to go back in the room because she's probably going to be sitting
I
in
would
there
love
being
to
miserable.
ask her if Charlotte said anything to her.
Oh no, 100%. I would love to talk to that woman.
Because if Charlotte said to you, like, you guys were too loud and people were complaining, like, did she go to her and be like, what are you doing? Like, because such a shift from everything was fine. Yes, it was awkward. Yes, you guys were sharing a room, but the first night everybody was having a good time as a big group. And like a lot of times women would sit in their small little cliques, and not even a bad clique, but you have friend groups, at night, like you'd sit and then people would move chairs and like, oh, what are you girls? Somebody would laugh really loud. And so somebody would be like, what are you ladies talking about? And this particular night, like it ended up, with like 15 ladies all sitting around because the conversation was universal and it was a great night. So then to have her come and say something to you, I wonder who else she said something to. That this woman, all of a sudden, it's like, now it's not okay. And I'm in my room crying. Like, interesting. It's just interesting to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know this woman was having some like personal stuff going on, like in her marriage and things like that. But like, it was very odd. So we finish retreat. We take a picture. I am not the only one who does not have a shirt. There were other women who did not order the shirts. I don't have a shirt. So it wasn't like the world kept turning, God didn't, smite all of Come As You Are because Amanda didn't order a retreat shirt. It wasn't, the like apocalyptic thing that Charlotte made it out to be. And so then we move into VBS, and really VBS, like nothing like super like, so retreat is in May and then VBS is in June. And so in that like in between time, Charlotte calls me up and she's like, hey, I want to talk to you about, just check in with you. I wasn't able to talk to you, at retreat or whatever. So like I want to go.
Wait, Tom would be like, hey, can I talk to you? shut the door, right?
Yeah. And then you have that, like, you could feel like your heart like sink
You
down
learn
to your
really quick
butthole, and you're like,
that when
oh.
Charlotte's like, we should get coffee. It only happens once, and then every other time you're like, freak, I'm in trouble.
Okay, well, like, this was my first
I know,
experience.
it's so funny.
This is my first experience
Because you
of
thought she
Charlotte
really
calling
wanted
and being,
to
let's go get
coffee.
coffee. Because up until then, her and I had met for coffee. We had met, we had talked, and all of these things. I now see that those were fact-finding missions. She was pumping me for information, but I literally thought I was just sitting and chatting with my friend Charlotte over coffee. So I meet her at the coffee shop, and we sit down, and it kind of starts off, kind of pleasantries and stuff. And then I get my butt reamed in public, like in a public coffee shop, to the point where I'm crying in the coffee shop. And I want to remind our listeners that we live in a small town. So it is not like in a city, you might see one or two people that you're like, oh, I know that person. I've seen them around in the neighborhood. This is people walk in, hey, how's it going? How's your kids?
And then you see 10 other people that you know, and you have 15 conversations. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, I walk, and we're sitting, as you walk in the door, we're sitting at the first table you come to before you can get to the counter to order. So we're sitting there, and I'm crying, and Charlotte is reaming my butt for being mean to the children's ministry leader at retreat. The children's ministry leader wants to quit the church altogether. She doesn't want to wait till the end of the summer. She is done. She is ready to just leave because I was mean to her. So let's look at this, because everything happens for a reason. Okay. I hope that we have painted Charlotte in a picture that you fully understand that she manipulates every situation that she can. So why would Charlotte do this? If the children's ministry leader is mad and wants to leave, that's what Charlotte wants. So why
are you getting in trouble for it? When it's obvious also that this lady was on her way out and was trying to have a reasonable exit, an honorable exit.
Yeah.
She had to put out the door
because
anyway.
We also need to put Amanda in her place. Amanda just stood her ground over an ugly t-shirt.
She sure did.
So if we're going to get what we want with one person, we should really try to get what we want with both people who are a problem.
Kill two birds with one stone.
So that is my theory why I got in trouble. Was because I had just stood my ground on the shirt. And so she wanted to put me in my place to move forward. So I feel awful.
Like, if you two work it out together, you might reconcile your friendship. And so there has to be these shadows of doubt. You've got the whole trust issue with the job offer. Like, I mean, there's just so many things where the only people inputting information into it are Tom and Charlotte.
Yeah. And so I call the children's ministry leader, and I was like, hey, whatever. And she is mad. Like, she is big mad. Like almost like, I don't understand why she's so mad about the situation. Like, I mean, was it awkward? Yes. But like, we were making it work, and like, we had VBS coming up. So she is like super big mad at me, right? Like, so mad. And she is like, I don't need, because I was like, we need to reconcile. Charlotte offered to like come in and sit down with us and like be like the mediator and all of that. And she's like, I'm not doing that. That's stupid. And is like so mad at me that I'm calling and asking this. And so like, I'm like, okay, fine. Like, that's fine. If you say we're good, we're good. So I report back to Charlotte, we're good. Then we go do VBS. VBS happens, and me and the children's ministry leader are kind of keeping our distance from each other. We're only interacting when we absolutely have to. This VBS is very uneventful. Like there's not a lot that goes on. It's very small compared to the ones in the recent years. The only memorable thing I remember is like we had this off-brand thing, and it wasn't until like the week of VBS that we realized like the kit didn't come with any decoration, so we had nothing to decorate. So like we were going to like the dollar store trying to like hodgepodge stuff together to decorate. But other than that, the only big thing is that, Melissa, you were leading worship, and one day you didn't show up.
Yeah, that's fun. And I think I showed up the first day. I honestly don't even remember if I made it to the.
I think
the first
no.
day.
I think you came the first day, and then it came time for the second day, and you were like a no call, no show, and we were like scrambling. But at least we had like the experience of like, okay, this is what it looked like yesterday.
And
we could make it happen.
Nobody came to see if I was alive or not.
Burning Butterflies is a listener-supported podcast. Today's episode was brought to you by our amazing supporters on Patreon.
Follow the link in our show notes to learn how you can become a Patreon supporter too. Supporters get exclusive access to bonus content each month, including outtakes, cut content, and supporter-only episodes. If you've enjoyed this episode, please leave us a rating on your listening platform.
Burning Butterflies is a production of Asha Media. Thank you for listening.